Okay, what is up? I've been posting on shorts, but it's been a while since I've posted an actual video. Um, if you guys don't know, I have been really into reading lately. Probably for the past year or so. I think my last video I uploaded was me tier ranking my reads from 2022, but it's just been like one of my favorite hobbies. It's like the best way for me to just unwind and relax. Yeah, I would much rather stay in and just read a book than anything else. Like if that's what I can do, that's what I'm gonna do. So I got a bunch of books from Barnes& and Noble. I did a little book haul on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, so you can check those out either on my YouTube channel here under Shorts, or you can check it out on my TikTok at Strinny Sparkle. But the first book that I'm going to read is Today, Tonight, and Tomorrow. So I'm just going to film a little read with me, and we'll see how much we read and how many books we get done. I mean, I'm not doing like anything like a challenge of like how many books I can read or anything like that. I'm just doing a little read with me. Okay, so I am still reading Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. So I figured I would bring you guys along. I'm about halfway through. I read a good chunk that first night, and then I haven't really picked much of it up since, just because school started to pick up and I had to get in the flow with that. So I'm taking a little study break right now, taking a little me time. So I figured I would bring you guys along to read with me. And I'll give you a little rundown of what it's about. So this is actually a really fast-paced read so far. But follows Rowan and Neil, and they are enemies. It's their senior year of high school, and they're battling out for valedictorian. It takes place the last day of school, where they announce who the valedictorian is, which you figured that out in the first probably 20 to 50 pages. And then anyway, so that's announced, and on the last day of school at noon, the whole senior class comes together and they play this like giant scavenger hunt around Seattle called How, and it's like the first person to win. It's kind of like a capture the flag scavenger hunt, or I guess like tag, because they have like these bandanas and you have to pull it off. So it's really cool. So you get given a name when you like start the competition, and you have to go to all these like 15 or so spots throughout the city of Seattle and like submit it to the junior class. And then you can't get caught by your peers. So like whoever has like drawn your name, which is it's so cool. So not only are you trying to like solve the scavenger hunt, you're trying not to get caught. So yeah, I guess like tag. And I just think that that's a really cool and fun concept. And so you can team up and like work with people, but like you never know when they're going to turn on you. And so right now I'm at the part where they're playing How. And yeah, it's so fun and like lighthearted to read. It would definitely be a good like palate cleanser if you're like you need something that's just light and fun. I haven't really read anything like this, and I don't think like really ever. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. This is so cute. I'm 320 pages in, and this is so cute. What is up? Okay, so I didn't film this I filmed like some of me reading last night, but I did finish Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, and it was so cute. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was definitely exactly like what I needed, just like a cute little story. It had like it wasn't young adult, but it had like that young adult feel, if that makes sense. It might have been young adult. I don't know if it was young adult or not. And it was just like very lighthearted, cutie, a fast little read. Like I would literally sit down for an hour and read, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I already read like 100 pages. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it, but it wasn't quite at like my 5-star. Like for something to be a 5-star for me, I have to like just love it. Like in terms of like, that's all I think about. I want to scream from the rooftops for people to read it. Like that's a 5-star for me. Like Magnolia Parks, 5-star for me. 5-star. I love that book. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. That's another 5 stars for me. I loved that book. I would reread that book in an instant. 5-star books are books that I would 100% reread. So if I'm ever like between the 4 and a 5, I'm like, would I pick up and reread this? That's kind of my decipher. But I did also start a new book last night. I just read the prologue in the first chapter. I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone of books because I usually read like romance and young adult. I'll read like some thrillers, some mystery, but for the most part, it's very contemporary, young adult, and romance. That is what my palette is. I have been wanting to get into fantasy for a while now, but it kind of scares me because I know that to like get into fantasy, it's like you have to be like in a certain mindset, I guess. At least for me, I feel like, because there is world building, and so I've been trying to find like a book that's like not a lot of world building and that it's easy to like follow and pace, if that makes sense. And the last fantasy book I read, I just like did not like it at all. It was a lot of world building, and it also, they like killed a horse in it and stuff, and like that just made me sad. Like I know that there's like blood and gore and stuff like that in some fantasy books, and like that's okay. I read the Mind F series, so like it's okay. I'm okay. Like I can read that stuff. It's okay. But like a horse, I was traumatized. I really was. Anyways, so last night I started another book. I didn't film it because it was like midnight. I'm crazy, and I will start a book at midnight. I will start a book at 1 o'clock in the morning. I know. Say what you want. So my mom has been like selecting the order of my like books. So she selected the today. Man, why can't I remember what it's called? She selected that book and was like, I think you should read this blue cover book. Yada, yada, yada. So I was like, all right, Ma, what book am I reading next? Because she's like, you're starting a book at midnight. And she actually wasn't surprised. Anyways, so she picked the next book, and it is Assistant to the Villain. So I read the first 35 pages of it last night. So it was the prologue and like the first 2 chapters. This, I can already tell that it is going to be so silly and cute, and I think it's the perfect way for me to dip my toes into the like fantasy style writing and the fantasy world. So I was just obsessed with this book because the red pages, I just think that that's so cool, so pretty. This is the first book in a series. I was looking on Goodreads. The second book comes out this time next year. So if this leaves off on a cliffhanger, I have to wait a whole nother year. I mean, it gives me something to look forward to. I will say that, but a whole nother year. I'm not a patient gal. But I knew that was going to be good because it has a map. And I'm going to drop it. I know I'm not like a fancy girly, but if a book has a map in it, that means it's going to be good, right? Like, and that's so cute. So that made me really excited. It follows Evie Sage. I read it as Evie. And she lives in this town. So there's like neighboring towns or whatever. And there's this villain who lives in the forest. They just call him the villain. No one knows what he looks like. But there's always like wanted posters. Everyone thinks that he's like this ugly, like, think of like the Wicked Witch from Snow White, like this, but a man, like an ugly, like evil man. But she's like wandering in the forest because she just lost her job, and she's just like trying to avoid going home. So she's wandering in the forest, and she runs into him, and she figures out that he's the villain. And she's like, oh my god, the villain's not supposed to be hot. I picture him like Flynn Rider. Like everyone, like, you know how in Rapunzel or Tangled, everyone's like, oh, Flynn Rider's this bad guy. He has the help wanted posters or whatever. But really, he's not a bad guy. He's just, I don't really know enough about him to know if he's a bad guy or not. But she said that he's hot, so I trust her, and I trust that he's not a bad guy because of that. And that, I know that that's probably not the way that I should look at it, but it's a book. It's how I can look at it if I want. Anyways, so basically she's wandering in the forest and she's like, oh my god, I lost my job, whatever. And he offers her to be his assistant. And so she takes the job, and everyone in her town just thinks that she's like a not nannying, is a maid in like one of the neighboring cities or towns or whatever you want to call it. And no one knows who she actually works for, but it's him. And yeah, it's really, she's so funny, and I like how it tells like her internal dialogue, because like I'm like, sis, I would be thinking the same thing. And then I was flipping through the chapter, so it gives Evie's point of view, and then it gives the villain's point of view, but you don't hear his point of view until page 50. So I know the second his point of view starts, I'm going to eat it up. I've been seeing people on TikTok reading this book, and they've been like giggling and kicking and screaming, and I am so down to giggle and kick and just eat it up. I heard that it was a slow burn too, and I love a slow burn. I identify as a slow burn. So yeah, I'm gonna read it and you can come along with me. Sorry, I just talked so much, but let's go. Okay, so I took off my makeup and stuff, and I've been lounging, reading Assistant to the Villain. I'm almost 100 pages in, and it is making me giggle. Like, she is just so funny, and the way that it's written and everything like that, it's just silly, but like not silly in like a, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like, it's so lighthearted and silly, but like it's got like seriousness too. So it's like the perfect balance. And I think it's the perfect book for me, like dipping my toes into the fantasy world. So I'm excited. There's mention of dragons and like frogs and ogres, like a frog that like can talk or whatever. Yeah, so it's a very cool read that I have not read anything like. Also, I haven't really ever read fantasy, but yeah, I'm liking it a lot, so I'll keep you updated, and we'll see how far I get tonight. It's still kind of early. I think it's only like 9:30, maybe 10. So, we'll see. Good morning. I didn't read as much as I thought I was going to read last night. I started getting tired, so I went to sleep. But I'm now like 100 pages in. The banter in this is so good. Like, it has me, like, you see, I'm literally giggling. This is what I needed. It's so funny. Date on Assistant to the Villain. I'm actually really liking it. I am 200 pages in now. I've just been reading a little bit at a time. Fantasy is not my like typical genre, but I'm trying to get into it because I just hear so many good things about it, and people say like once you get into it, you like really like it. So far I'm liking it. The pacing's really good. I'm reading it slower than what I would typically read, like a romance book, but like that's okay. But I'm so like I could start a romance book and finish it like within 24 hours. But fantasy, I think it just takes me a little bit longer, probably just because I haven't read it as much. But I think this is the perfect one for me to be like dip my toes in, because it talks about dragons and like just stuff that I'm not used to reading about, but there's really good banter. Like the banter in this book, chef's kiss. Like it has me kicking my feet. It has me giggling. Like it literally has me smiling. And it's just like funny. Like the way that Hannah Nicole Meyer writes, it's just funny. It's very witty. So I just find myself chuckling while reading it, which I enjoy. And yeah, I guess I think that I thought that I was reading it slow, but I'm really like over halfway through, so I'm really not reading it slow. I think I for a while was reading like a book a day, but that's because I was not in school. But yeah, I think that this is a really good one for me to dip my toes in, and I'm enjoying it. Y'all, I'm on page 310. I'm so shook right now. So shook. Like, I had to reread it and make sure I read that right. Oh my gosh. I was laying down reading. I sat straight up. I sat straight up for this. My lighting's horrible. I'm sorry. It's like 11:30. I should be going to sleep because I gotta be up early, but I gotta finish this. Okay, I have like less than 20 pages left. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, so I just realized that I forgot to update you guys that I did finish Assistant to the Villain. I finished it at like 1 a.m. It was such a fun read, and it was so different from anything that I've read. I was looking at my story graph, and it was the first fantasy book I've read this year. But it was super cute. The banter. Why did no one tell me that there is such good banter in fantasy books? Like, I was giggling, I was blushing. I just had a really good time with it overall. I was upset because we were left off on a cliffhanger and the next book doesn't come out until this time next year. So a whole year of waiting. And yeah, so that was a big bummer to me. But I did give it a 4 out of 5. I thought that was fun and I really enjoyed it, and I think that it definitely opened the world of fantasy to me. So I'm thinking about maybe dipping my toes into it a little bit more, and I'll keep you updated on that. Okay, so I just realized while I was editing that I never fully ended the vlog, so I'm just gonna end it here. Thank you so much for tuning in and having a little read with me. I definitely want to do more, so comment any of your book recs or anything like that down below that you think that I would enjoy. And yeah, can't wait to see you next time. Bye.